What's going on? What's going on, YouTube? It's Thomas DeLauer. Tuesday evening, it's Halloween. And I figured, wow, there's probably some people that aren't out trick-or-treating or have already gone trick-or-treating out on the East Coast and are into getting some good fasting content going out their direction. So here we are, ready to talk about intermittent fasting or short-term fasting versus long-term fasting and how to determine what is for you. Okay, so as always, guys, with my live broadcast, with my coaching videos, I want to make sure that you're commenting where you're watching from. Adam, what's going on? What's going on? Alex in Houston, what's going on? Good to see you here. Everyone's asked if we had the baby already. Baby is going to come hopefully before Thursday. If he doesn't come by Thursday, then we're having an induction on Thursday. Arizona, what's going on in the house? What's going on in London? It's good to see you here. Ron in Pennsylvania, Bronx, New York. What's going on in Chicago? Nick in Canada, Glasgow, Phoenix, Cyprus. Yeah, Serbia in the house. Wow, that's a first. Okay, what's going on? Jose in London, Sacramento, Oscar Martinez, Brooklyn, Stephen in Nashville, North Dakota in the house, Sydney, Sacramento, California, West Virginia, Ireland, Ottawa, Denver, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Australia, Battleground, Canada, Toronto, Greece. This is like a game. I'm getting better at it. Charlotte, Houston, Australia, Sacramento, Sweden. You guys are super awesome. This is going to be some good content. I'm going to touch on the two different types of fasting that I talk about a lot. And the first one, of course, is intermittent fasting, and the other one is prolonged fasting. Two different types of fasting that I talk a lot about. And what I'm trying to do with these live coaching videos and with these broadcasts in general is I'm trying to address the common questions that come up in comments, because you guys are super awesome. You're always engaging and commenting on my videos and all this stuff. And I don't always have the time to reply. I do a really good job, either myself or a member of my team goes through and answers the health questions the best that we can. But a lot of times I take note of these common ones that come up, and I figure these are perfect opportunities to hop on a live broadcast and talk to my fans, talk to my followers, talk to my subscribers, and be able to answer as many questions as I possibly can. So we're going to talk about these topics in less than 2 minutes here. I just want to make sure I say hello to as many people as possible because we still have a lot of people hopping on here. And as always, guys, if you can, hit that thumbs up button, give this video a big old like. And if you can, really quick, if you're new to my live broadcast, I want you to press the number 1 if you've never been on one of my broadcasts before. And if you have been on one of my broadcasts, I want for you to press the number 2 and comment that. The reason I do that is so that I have an idea of who's new, who's returning. We've got a lot of new viewers. See, that's awesome. That's exactly what I'm trying to go for. I'm trying to get as many people on here as possible because I do these frequently. And the more people we get on here, the more questions I can answer, the more engaging they can be. I try to have a lot of fun with these. So guys, make sure you turn on notifications so you can see when I go live in the future. Wow, holy cow, I'm sorry, this is awesome. I'm blown away. What's going on, Matt? We got so many people. Kathy in Rhode Island, it's good to see you here. Got a lot of people jumping in. Ted Potter from Madison, Mississippi. Tracy in Las Vegas, returning viewer. Pakistan in the house. Vermilion, Ohio. People keep saying, where's the baby? Guys, baby still hasn't come yet. He's nice and cozy in there in mama. So I don't know what to say except for the fact that if he's not here by Thursday, we're having an induction. He has to be born by Thursday. So by Thursday, I will be a daddy, okay? Like, hands down. So anyway, guys, let me get down to the topic so I don't keep a lot of people waiting that are here looking for the juicy content, all right? Intermittent fasting, okay? My definition of intermittent fasting is literally fasting in a period of time where your eating window is between 5 and 8 hours, really. Okay, that's intermittent fasting, where you are going 16, 18, 20 hours a couple times per week. That's intermittent fasting. And there's loads of benefits when it comes down to intermittent fasting. You guys have probably seen my commercials out there for fasting. You've seen my videos out there. I'm all big on it. Intermittent fasting's main benefits come from the fact that you are seeing a lot of results as it comes down to body composition. Intermittent fasting is much more geared towards being able to restrict the time that you're eating and being able to maximize the hormonal benefits of when you eat. So if there's one big takeaway that I want you to take from this video on the difference between the benefits of intermittent fasting and the benefits of prolonged fasting, it's gonna be this. And I'm just looking at the head count in here, and it's just climbing up. We're at 600 people now. It's just tons and tons of people. So guys, I wanna give you the main difference here, but we have so many people still hopping in here. Please make sure you hit that thumbs up button. I really would appreciate that. Hit that like button, get a lot of engagement going so it helps out the YouTube algorithm. Intermittent fasting, the benefit comes during the eating window. Prolonged fasting, the benefit is coming during the fasting window. Now, don't get me wrong, there's benefits that happen with both, okay? Don't get me wrong at all. Intermittent fasting, you have lots of benefits like autophagy and all these cool things that are happening during your fasting window. But the benefits strongly occur on an intermittent fasting program during the actual eating window, when you're breaking your fast and you're strategically implementing these types of foods. Prolonged fasting, the benefits are occurring because you're forcing yourself to not eat for 2 or 3 days. That right there, that triggers a big response in terms of cell regeneration, in terms of the cell self-eating, immune system stimulation, macrophage stimulation, lymphatic drainage, all kinds of amazing things. So we have two different sides of the equation here. We have prolonged fasting, which is very, very good for long-term health, for helping your body recover, for helping cells get back, helping your body really recover from injuries, reducing chronic inflammation, really helping things like that. Then we have intermittent fasting, which is a little bit more of a lifestyle. So I have to make sure that there's a clear-cut difference between those two, okay? We've got intermittent fasting, and then we've got prolonged fasting. Now, I hope that that makes up, or clears up some of the confusion there. I'm gonna go into some more depth here. I wanna say hello to a lot of people that are hopping on here. Guys, be sure if you just hopped on here to comment where you're watching from. Arthur in South Carolina, what's going on? Pinball Steve, you say you're on day 8 of your first extended fast. Holy cow, man, you're aggressive. That's intense. Someone says, what about fasting 20 hours, 40-hour eating window every other day? That's not a bad question. That's not a bad question at all. That might be a little bit aggressive, but it depends on how advanced you are. That's definitely a good strategy. When I fast, I love fasting for 18, 20 hours. I like to fast sort of that intermediate longer range. That's just how I do. London in the house, Brampton, Canada. You guys are super awesome. Hello from the Philippines. What's going on? Alabama in the house, Roman in North Carolina. Shout outs from Malibu, California, Rocky Mike, not too far, just over the hill from you. I'm in Thousand Oaks. West Palm Beach, Florida, Atlanta, Georgia checking in, Sweden, India, Charlotte, North Carolina. Someone asked if fasting is good for type 2 diabetics. I am not a doctor, so I have to say this, and you have to make sure that you take this advice with a grain of salt. But intermittent fasting has been shown to do some pretty dramatic things when it comes to blood sugar long term, not just affecting the day that you're actually fasting. So there are some big benefits there. Vancouver, Canada. Why shouldn't women intermittent fast every day? That's a good question. I touched on this last week when I did an intermittent fasting coaching video. And the thing is what it does is for women, it can disrupt the thyroid stimulating hormone response in the body. It can disrupt how the body starts to process thyroid hormone. That's not the end all be all. It doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna happen. It's just being safe, okay? So females, I highly recommend if you're going to fast, you fast just a couple days per week. Don't fast every single day. You can still do intermittent fasting protocols. You can still do my fasting protocol. You can still follow my videos. Just don't fast every day, at least until you get your body adjusted to it. You guys, can we make sure that we get everyone hitting that like button? I'm not doing it for my ego. I'm honestly, if you hit that like button, it helps me out a ton. It gets these videos ranked better. And as you can see, this YouTube channel is finally starting to get some of the credit it deserves, putting in a lot of money, a lot of effort into this channel, making it good content. And we're finally starting to grow a lot. And it's thanks to you guys for keeping it engaged, hitting that like button always, commenting. So I appreciate that. Like button is the little thumbs up button that's directly underneath the video. You should see that. Ben, you wish to bring up a good question. You say that you did a 20-hour fast and you had an upset stomach. So here's what happens. I've talked about this in a lot of videos. So if you've heard me say this before, just get ready, because it's basically what ends up happening is when you go through any kind of extended fast, your gut mucosal layer starts to break down a little bit. Okay, it's kind of normal. It's part of the the cell rejuvenation process. Your gut mucosal layer breaks down and it starts to rebuild. So you're very, very sensitive right at the end of a fast. Very, very sensitive. And what that means is that when you do eat, certain acids can really irritate your stomach, or if you took ibuprofen, or if you had something that might irritate you, that can be pretty rough. So you want to make sure that you're really careful of that. Drew Lomberg, you say bone broth when you break your fast. Yes, that's one of the things that I highly recommend. I also highly recommend having some kind of high glycemic small amount of carbohydrate, like a rice cake, something like that. Robert, wow, 50 pounds in 3.5 months thanks to intermittent fasting and keto. Awesome. I'm so glad these videos have been able to help you. Is sardines and sauerkraut good for breaking a fast? If you are in keto, that would be a great way to break a fast. And sauerkraut is tremendous because it's adding the probiotics into the mix. You're definitely on the right track. Very, very good. There's so many questions coming in. Someone said, I previously mentioned nitric oxide for cold hands, cold feet while fasting. Any other recommendations for this problem? Aside from wearing gloves or hand warmers, Yeah, so nitric oxide's a big one. I'm also a big fan of just getting getting the core body temperature up. So, apple cider vinegar with a little bit of cayenne, things like that. Things that are going to stimulate blood flow. Acetic acid is going to help the mineralization of the body. It's going to help your body utilize minerals a little bit better, which means that you should be able to get a little bit better circulation. You may want to check your blood glucose too and see if you're having these massive fluctuations that could be causing that. Roger, you asked a good question too. What do I think of taking cold showers? I need to do a video on that actually, because cold showers can do a lot of different things for the nervous system. Basically what you're doing is you're stimulating the sympathetic nervous system to kind of go on and off. You're artificially putting yourself in the sympathetic nervous system so that by contrast, when you're not in that cold shower, your sympathetic nervous system is disengaged. Now, what I encourage you to do if you do cold showers and try to do that kind of therapy for stress management and anxiety management is try to do some deep diaphragmatic breathing. And this is good for anybody, actually, to be completely honest. I know I'm gonna go slightly off topic on fasting for a second and talk about diaphragmatic breathing because it's something that's changed my life a lot. Diaphragmatic breathing is when you take a deep breath, but you try to keep your ribs and you try to keep your chest from moving up, okay? So it's like you take a deep breath and rather than going and letting the chest come up, elevate your rib cage, you keep the chest down and you try to breathe and inhale your lungs while keeping your chest and your ribs down. What that's gonna do is it's gonna get deep into the alveolar air, that alveolar air down deep in your lungs, and it's gonna allow you to tap into the parasympathetic nervous system a lot better. So you're able to actually get into a state of relaxation and able to lower your cortisol levels. I know I sound like a crazy person talking about breathing techniques now, but all this stuff comes together, everybody. It all makes a big difference. Someone talks about serapeptase. I actually did a video on serapeptase. Someone says can't take ice cold showers or baths, forget that. It's definitely tough. Can you do intermittent fasting if you have adrenal fatigue? Intermittent fasting is actually really good for adrenal fatigue because you can reset some of those cortisol values. You see, you have cortisol that's out of whack when you have adrenal fatigue. You have aldosterone that's out of whack when you have adrenal fatigue. And basically, you have what's called the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. That's your pituitary communicating with your adrenals. And what ends up happening is when you're constantly overstimulated with high levels of cortisol, your brain, as a protective mechanism, shuts off cortisol production for a little bit, simply to protect your brain. High levels of cortisol will damage your brain. There have been studies, and I think it was Hellwater was a person that did a study on it, a Welsh guy, that took a look at the effect of cortisol prolonged on the brain, and it can be pretty damaging. So your body shuts down cortisol production. So when you fast, you actually allow that to reset a little bit. Anyway, I'm starting to digress a little bit. Leo Alex, who asked if a 16-8 protocol is okay for women. Just a couple days per week, you're fine. Can I drink lemon water in the morning during the fast? Technically, some will say lemon breaks a fast, but I think you're totally fine in this case. 16-8 fast every day, okay. I think that's probably fine because a 16-8 fast isn't a super aggressive fast. I want to get back to the topic at hand of the prolonged fasting versus intermittent fasting in just a second. But guys, make sure if you're just joining in here, please comment where you're watching from. But if you haven't commented already, comment the number 1 if you're new to one of my broadcasts, and comment the number 2 if you're returning, if you've been to one of them before. That way I know who's new, who's been here before. Rob in Baton Rouge, what's going on? Touch on fasting headaches. That's a good question. A lot of people do get headaches when they fast, and it's usually just a blood sugar and caffeine withdrawal thing that's happening right at the very beginning of adjusting to a fast. So don't worry too much about it. They usually subside. If it continues to happen, you may want to consider getting some electrolytes in you, getting some magnesium, getting some sodium, and possibly even a little bit of potassium. Because sometimes it can just be that balance right then and there, but a lot of times it's just a withdrawal thing. So that hopefully that answers that. Okay, let me get back to intermittent fasting versus long-term fasting. Someone asked, what do I define as a prolonged fast or a long-term fast? Anything over 24 hours. But if you're gonna prolong fast for extended periods of time. Guys, the results and the studies are crazy. Most of the scientific evidence out there points to longer-term fasts being really, really good to do. When I say intermittently, I truly mean intermittently. Long-term fasts done like once a month, maybe once every 3 weeks. And what you want to do is you want to be fasting for 24 to 48 hours, but the real effects, like the effects that actually a 2,000% increase in your human growth hormone levels, 180% increase in your free testosterone levels, 67% increase in your luteinizing hormone. Those are the kind of things. The European Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that huge increase in luteinizing hormone, which increases your testosterone levels just from periods of fasting. Now also, you can go back through my logs of videos and see a lot of them, but I talk about prolonged fasting and what it does for the immune system. It's phenomenal. It's absolutely freaking amazing. Now, where the magic really starts to happen is using prolonged fasting as a tool throughout your diet regimen, okay? So I'm talking about doing prolonged fasting maybe once a month, no matter what protocol you're doing. But it's very, very important that you understand. Someone says, it almost looks like a fake kitchen. Well, because it is a fake kitchen. But I guess I did a good job if it only almost looks like a fake kitchen. But I guess I could do better if it still looks like a fake kitchen. But anyway, the whole point is prolonged fasting is there for you to really get a health benefit. And then intermittent fasting is there as more of a lifestyle. Someone says, what about fasting after a cheat meal? Yeah, okay, so there's two ways that you can use fasting and cheat meals or refeed meals. You can fast leading up to a cheat meal, or you can fast after a cheat meal. I've done it both ways. I find that I'm less bloated if I actually fast after the cheat meal. Like I find that it just I handle things a lot better. Basically what ends up happening is, have the cheat meal, have the refeed meal, then the next day going into like an intermittent fasting phase where I'm fasting for 24 hours or something like that. That can make a big difference just in helping your body reset, get back into ketosis or whatever. Kima, you asked a good question. Hang on, you said calorie deficit, how long can we implement for weight loss? Because that's a good question, because that comes up a lot. What happens when someone is fasting for extended periods of time and their weight loss is happening? How long can they continue to fast before they just don't see results anymore? It all depends on the person, to be completely honest. But that's exactly why intermittent fasting shouldn't necessarily be done every single day. Even the intermittent fasting program that I just released, the one that I put out on, I think a lot of you guys probably watch me on the Six-Pack Abs, Six-Pack Shortcuts channel, which is another one of my channels that I have a ton of subscribers on. Even in that protocol, I still don't recommend going more than like 4 or 5 days of fasting. You really should be having a couple days where you just eat as normal. It's really important. So, best app for counting nutrients. I'm a big fan of MyNet Diary. Not as big of a fan of MyFitnessPal. I think it's kind of cumbersome. I think it's kind of annoying. So, someone says workout regime for when you're prolonged fasting. Business as usual. Just go through your workout, but don't push it too hard. Just go through the same routine. I'm a huge fan of doing full body routines, doing full body, getting the lymph moving. We got to remember that we need to mobilize the lymphatic fluid, okay? So Thomas's lives are on Tuesday. I guess they have been falling on Tuesdays. Okay, but you want to make sure that you're still kind of keeping the lymph moving, keeping that upper body moving and lower body moving so that you're mobilizing fat. I've talked about in other videos. This is really, really interesting. You guys are going to like this. I'm going to touch on it, but I'll be doing a full-blown video on it in just a little bit. Fat mobilization and fat actually enters the body and goes in through the lymph. It doesn't travel in the bloodstream the way that we think it does. It does partially travel in the blood, but for the most part, it travels in the lymph. Now, your glands, like when you get sick, or the glands that are in your armpits or anything like that, those glands get swollen when you have an infection. Well, it's lymph that is moving through those, okay? Lymph fluid. Lymph mobilizes fat and moves fat. So your fatty acids and everything that you consume are coming in through your lymph. Now, lymph does not get moved by the heart, okay? Remember, blood is pumped by the heart. Boom, 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 boom. Moving blood through the arteries, coming back through the veins. But lymph needs its own delivery, okay? It doesn't have muscles to move it. What is moving lymph then? How are you delivering the nutrients? How are you delivering the fat to be burned? Through movement. And if you're getting a muscle pump where you're working one body part, what are you doing? You're putting lymph into one area of your body. That swelling, that pump that you're getting, it's not just blood, it's lymph. And what you're doing is you're isolating it to one area. You're not mobilizing it to the liver. So when you're fasting and your body's already burning fat, the best thing for you to do as far as a workout is concerned is do moderate intensity, lower and upper body work. Because then you're moving lymph from the lower body to the upper body, and then it's going into the liver, it's being processed, it's being burned. Having major, major success right there. So keep your workouts kind of gentle. Guys, can we make sure we hit that like button? We have a lot of people on here and not as many people had hit that thumbs up button. So I do want to make sure you guys do that. Huge, huge favor for me to ask of you guys to just make sure you hit that like button. A lot of people know coffee does not break a fast. Let me go ahead and answer some questions. Is prolonged fasting okay for women? That's, yes, it is. Again, just in moderation. Pink Himalayan salt for long-term fasting. Yes, definitely go with pink Himalayan salt or truffle salt or Brazilian sea salt. Fasting or keto for type 1 diabetics. Both have been shown to be successful, but ketosis has been shown time and time again to be successful for type 1 diabetics. So I'm going to go ahead and say that. Janie, you say the 6-pack abs. Yeah, the channel is 6-pack abs. It's a 4.5 million subscriber channel that I'm pretty much the face of. So I do a lot of content on that channel too. I talk about slightly different things there than I do here. You guys should probably be watching me on both because I put out slightly different content. Baby DeLauer is not here yet, almost. Keto sticks to measure ketones, something I talk about a lot. I'm much more of a fan of testing with your blood or your breath. Keto sticks don't help you out too much because the number varies and it's not very data driven. You can't get a whole lot of good data. Do prescription drugs like, I can't quite see that. Inositol? I don't know if inositol is prescription, but either way, prescription, you should always continue to consult with your doctor on that. I can't touch on that. Supplement prices in the future, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Do I have a book? I have a number of books. I have a keto book. I have an organic reboot book. I have an intermittent fasting book. How much calories do I take in after a day of fasting? That's just the thing. You don't have to take in a lot of calories. A lot of the benefits of fasting come in simply because you are restricting your calories to a short amount of time. So you don't need to be taking as many calories in as you think. Let it be. Just eat until you're comfortable and you're good. Tragic Games asking if I'm taking on new clients. Right now I'm not. I'm really focusing on growing the channel and getting a lot of good content out there. So at this point in time, my coaching is extremely limited for those that are already there. You can always go to my website and apply and get put on a waiting list and kind of select, but right now I'm not really taking anybody on. Carb backloading and intermittent fasting. Yeah, that's actually a very powerful tool if you know how to carb backload properly. I probably need to do a full video on that. In fact, hey Matt, make sure you write that one down. Carb backloading. Cool. Actually had one of my guys write that down because that really is a good one. One I've been wanting to talk about is, when do you time your carbs for fasting and everything like that. Depression and anxiety on keto, that's a good question. It's a good thing to bring up. It's a serious issue, and that's why I actually cycle out of ketosis now and then. Sean, thank you for saying happy Halloween, man. Sean McConaughey, thank you very much. Anxiety, depression, when you don't have the serotonin uptake that you normally have when you are not in ketosis, can be very aggressive. It can be very tough. That is something that you want to make sure that you're monitoring and can modulate by having different levels of magnesium, some sodium, but also bringing carbs into the equation now and then. Gut bacteria and fasting. That's actually a really good question too. I've looked into it a little bit. For the most part, fasting does allow the bad bacteria to stave off a little bit because bad bacteria usually needs to eat a little bit more frequently than good bacteria that can survive quite a bit better. So that's a good question though. I do need to do a little bit more research into that. Vodka and tonic water probably would break a fast. Alcohol still has 7 calories per gram. I just saw a good question come in and I want to answer it. Why does caffeine help your sympathetic nervous system use white adipose tissue as fuel when fasted? Well, it doesn't just use white. It actually does cause it to use brown too, but it's by and large using white. The difference between white fat and brown fat, you have a good fat and a bad fat. One is designed to keep you warm and insulate you. One is designed to actually just be flat out just not good and just flat out fat. Caffeine has been shown to promote the utilization of the bad fat a little bit more. Now, it's a little bit tough to determine whether or not that's a real thing, but caffeine definitely does mobilize free fatty acids. It just probably all depends on the subject. Someone asked why brown fat is bad. There's just different fats that tend to surround organs a little bit more and can cause a few more problems for you. You want the kind of fat that's just there to keep you insulated and keep you warm, not the kind of fat that can actually really materialize into negative things. Someone asked about when do you take alpha lipoic acid? Alpha lipoic acid you can take around anytime you have carbohydrates because it's definitely going to help you metabolize that. Sugar-free gum technically won't break a fast. Aspartame, as much as I don't like the stuff and I don't consume the stuff as much, is usually what's in gum and technically it won't break a fast. Is adrenal fatigue a concern during prolonged fasting? Usually not. You can keep a monitor on your cortisol levels. You can always go and buy a salivary cortisol test and that can be really powerful too. How much potassium do we need? That's a very good question, but it all depends on you and your heart because the heart can dictate how much potassium you're using. I recommend starting with a 99 milligram tab and try that. When will I do a video on supplements I offer in my program and other options to save money? Here's the reason I don't do a lot of videos on supplements. I will be completely honest. Because I don't want to come off as that guy that's pushing supplements, because I'm not. Okay, I endorse a couple of companies and they're very small and they're very near and dear to me, companies that I know the owners of. And I try not to do videos talking about supplements a whole lot because I don't want to come off like I'm just pushing supplements like all the other YouTubers that are out there, because that's not my goal. Now, that being said, I would like to do maybe a live broadcast in the future that talks about recommended supplements that I take and not necessarily give brand names, because that's really, really important. Guys, I want to address the elephant in the room while I've got my live viewers here that are like super devout followers. Just so that you guys know, every once in a while when I put a video out there, I will endorse a product. Like I've gotten some bad, negative feedback because I have Kettle and Fire in some of my videos. They're a bone broth company that I know them really well. I know the owner. I promote them within my videos because I believe in what they do, and they also are a part of my brand. So I just want to let you guys know why you guys are here, that every once in a while, don't be upset if when I put a video out there, I tout or recommend a given product. It's okay for me to give a shout out. I don't sell out a lot. I do try to sell out when I'm really passionate about a product. So I just want you guys to know that. I don't want you to think that I'm some kind of weirdo just because I promote a product every now and then. I also will only promote products that I truly stand behind. And quite honestly, this is a channel that has to be funded somehow. And I'm reaching a lot of people, and it costs me a lot of money to make this content. I've got a full video staff, I've got a full team, we're always doing this stuff. It costs me money to create this stuff. And the best way for me to do it is to reach out to brands that I work with, that I already consume, and find a way for them to help support the channel. So I know that it upsets some of you, but I want you all to know that it's not contrived. It's not like people just come to me and I say, oh, cool, I'm gonna go promote that because you came to me. No, it's usually the opposite. It's usually me reaching out to them. And me finding a way to incorporate them into a video because it's a product I genuinely like. So I just wanna put that out there because I don't want you guys thinking that I'm a sellout. Anyway, guys, can we get a bunch of people to hit that like button really quick? I got time to answer 3 more questions, and then I've gotta go on a little date night with the wifey since we have the baby scheduled to potentially come on Thursday, or to come on Thursday through induction. So I want to go have a date night so I can have one last night with my wifey before I have to hear a baby cry. Okay. Someone asked about intermittent fasting, 18/6 every day. I kind of answered that question. You guys are super awesome. Lots of just good compliments coming in. Peanuts would break a fast, technically. Question, what effect would fasting or keto have on a person who has Raynaud's disease? Funny, my sister has that. Gets the orange dots and everything like that. It is technically an autoimmune condition, and fasting would probably help you out quite a bit. So I think someone says I'm over 40, should I consider testosterone replacement? That's something you need to talk about with your doctor, which is I know is the answer you probably didn't want to hear, but I will say this to be completely honest. Most men over the age of 35, by and large, if they were to get their testosterone levels checked, they would be a good candidate to get testosterone replacement. That's just my personal opinion, and it's simply because we have so many BPAs out there, we have so many diotoxins and environmental toxins. People ask if they should listen to Dr. Berg. Dr. Berg's a great guy. He is a chiropractor. He's not necessarily, I think sometimes he pushes it off as him being an MD, but he is a chiropractor. He doesn't have a background in nutrition, but he puts out a lot of good content, so he's cool. Do I supplement glutathione, or do I get it from food sources? I actually patented a glutathione. I own the patent called receptor cell mediated endocytosis. So glutathione is body's inherent ability to detox. You look up the company Core Factor, Korfactor. That's Korfactor. That's actually my company. Even then, I own a supplement brand. I don't put my face behind it. I don't push it out there because I don't want that. I really, truly, if I if I could talk, it would be a start. If I put a good product out there, I put the product out there, and I let the product sell itself. But yeah, glutathione, regardless, is a tremendous thing to take. What are my long-term health and business goals? My business goal by the end of 2020 is to have reached 1 billion people in 1 year. So if I look at my overall reach in terms of my videos, how many people I reach, that's a soft goal. So I want to say I've reached 1 billion people with my health videos and with my everything like that. So that's what I try to do. Wheatgrass juice breaks a fast? Yes, it does. Using the sauna during prolonged fasting? Yes, but be very, very careful. Very, very careful there. Alkaline water, good or bad? I personally think it's kind of a waste. I don't think you need to spend your money on alkaline water. It's going to be acidic by the time it hits your body. Salt pre-workout? Yes. Even if you're fasting, salt pre-workout, huge thing. You guys are super awesome. if you can, try to hit that like button. I'd love to get this video up over 1,000 likes, and that way it'd be a nice new record if we can get 1,000 likes on a live broadcast. Water fasting for 5 days, way to go, Ashish, awesome. Sorry, I'm trying to see your name. Aaliyah Skelly, please go on a tour. Just want to shake your hand. I would love to go on a tour. I think it would be super awesome. I've also been thinking, about really putting on a live event and actually trying to invite some people out here and doing some awesome things. Jasmine, you asked why salt pre-workout. Simply because when you're fasting, your body is usually deprived of minerals in the first place. And remember, it's that salt, that sodium-potassium pump that's driving energy in and out of the cell. You might find that you end up having a tremendous pump and end up getting a much better workout simply by having salt just before your workout. It makes a big, big difference. Salt really gets a bad rap. Salt is not bad. Salt is good. We just don't want to overdo it. And if you are someone that is hypertensive, you just want to monitor it, okay? Someone asked about cryotherapy and hyperbaric oxygen. Cryotherapy, I'm a huge fan of just for regular, just intermittent use. Hyperbaric, I'm a little bit cagey on it. It all depends. If wheatgrass breaks a fast, what's a good substitute? Honestly, you just want to have your wheatgrass like after you eat. I mean, there's no good substitute for some good greens, to be honest. Salt, ACV, cream of tartar, Chris, you've got it. Good stuff. Whataburger knocked you out of keto. Really, that's interesting. I wonder if it was just too much protein. Muscle building and long-term muscle building. Fasting is actually really good for muscle building. Please cover healthy non-keto food options in your vids. I would love to, because the thing is, most of the people that are doing ketosis are always just sitting out there talking about cheese, talking about bacon, talking about this stuff that is not good. It's not good. How do you bulk? I shouldn't say that. Let me back up. It's not good in excess the way people are consuming it. Constant heavy dairy, constant cheese, constant heavy cream. It doesn't need to be that way. How often should you carb up? It all depends on the person. I actually just did a video on this. If you go back 1 or 2 videos, I did a video talking about that. Does beef broth break your fast? Yes, but it's something that you should use to break your fast, like the first thing you consume when you break your fast. It helps your gut. Does intermittent fasting stunt teenage growth? I would not do it more than 1 day a week if you're a teenager, okay? That's very important for you. Long-term muscle building while intermittent fasting possible? Definitely, because then you're able to capitalize on the actual, basically the hormone fluctuation, the big insulin spike you get when you do break your fast. You just wanna make sure you're getting a lot of calories in that window. Guys, I'm gonna have to wrap this up. I've gotta get going home before my wife kills me. My wife is, just so you guys know, we have an induction set for the baby to be born on Thursday because he's a week and a half late. So next time you see me on a live broadcast, I will be a daddy. Can we get one last big round of just hitting that thumbs up button and one last big round of just saying hello and saying where you're watching from? You guys are super, super awesome. Thank you again for being here. And as always, make sure you subscribe, make sure you keep it locked in here on my channel. And if you're watching, make sure you hit that little bell, okay? There's a bell down below that turns on notifications. It should be down like the bottom right area. You'll see it looks like a bell. That turns on notifications. So you wanna make sure that you turn on notifications. That way, whenever I go live, you get a push notification. Very, very, very important. Otherwise, you see these lives when they're not live, and I want you guys to be here for them. All right, you guys, thank you very, very much. We'll see you on the flip side.